Cutting from the net, upstairs, Bardown, goal. Doug
What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey, episode number 112, presented by the Barroom Network. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I am wearing a sick Nike shirt. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he's wearing a sick Nike shirt. Frank, how you doing?
You know, I tried Raisin Bran for the first time today.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
It's a little overrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not in on it.
And I like cereals like that, you know,
Me too,
like
but
mini wheats and
Mhm.
Cheerios. So it wasn't what I expected. I was expecting the actual bran flakes to be like Frosted Flakes, but without like the sweetness. But I thought they'd be crunchy, but they were like staley and chewy, and they had no flavor. And the only flavor you got was from the raisins themselves, which is
Yeah.
like, I don't hate raisins, but it's like it's not a texture for a cereal you really want.
Yeah, I get that. I don't hate raisins either, but I don't love them.
So
So it can't be what's going on, Skokes. It
thank
can't
you,
be.
Tom.
Hello, welcome. It can't be the only source of flavor in a cereal. Happy Wednesday to Skylar. Happy birthday to Skylar.
Oh, happy birthday!
Congratulations on turning 29. I believe he's 29 because he's a year older than me, a grade older than me. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, listen, I love the sugary cereals as much as the next guy. But like I could get down with like the healthier cereals too. Just Raisin Bran, not as much. I'd rather eat Cheerios or any of the other healthy cereals.
I was so pumped. I grabbed some. I'm like, this is gonna be great, and then it was just downhill. Like that shouldn't be a cereal.
See, Frank, you can't go in life thinking everything is going to be awesome.
It looked fantastic because I had the Frosted Flakes on my mind.
Yeah,
It was crunchy with a little sweetness, but I kid you not, there was no flavor. If I was blindfolded, I'd have no idea what I'm eating.
Hey, Frankie, I like the things you do. Hey, Frankie, if I could, I would be you. It's the one and only Frankie with the one and only taste. He wishes he had a breakfast cereal to make him feel great.
I wish. But
Not
instead
today.
I had Cheerios, and I like Cheerios.
Cheerios are good. What's your all-time favorite cereal? Like sugary, any kind of cereal. It is tough. There are some elite ones, and there are people who get mean-spirited arguments over this stuff.
I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I like S'more cereal, might be my favorite.
S'more
It went away for
outstanding. Yeah,
after years.
it came back.
I also like Captain Crunch peanut butter. And I'm a big mini wheats guy, frosted mini wheats preferably. But yeah, that's probably on my Mount Rushmore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Katie says Lucky Charms. I like
Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms are elite. If I was Irish, I probably would like them more.
I'm not really picky of any cereal though. Just Raisin Bran. That's the first cereal, but it's not that I didn't like it. I just wouldn't eat it.
Yeah, I get that. Like if you were starving and hey, you want a bowl of Raisin Bran before we go on this hike, either that or be extremely hungry. Yeah, for sure, 100%. But like, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I like Lucky Charms. I really like Apple Jacks.
I agree with Skylar.
Very few bad cereals. I agree. Lucky Charms, outstanding. Not Cracker Jacks. Cracker Jacks are good too, but they're not cereal. Apple Jacks are outstanding. I love Apple Jacks. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Ooh, so good. What's the peanut butter chocolate one? Captain Crunch. Peanut butter crunch. All the Captain Crunches. Berry Crunch, Peanut Butter Crunch. Outstanding cereal. Underrated though, Oreo O's. Oreo O's are unbelievable. That's probably my favorite cereal.
I don't know if I've had them.
They kind of did what the s'mores ones did.
I don't know if I.
the s'mores ones, like they went on the hiatus, and now you could get them again. I think the Oreos. That's not the easiest to find cereal, but of every cereal I've ever had in my life, that one was for sure my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. I like Oreo flavor. I like Oreo flavor, like that cookies and cream flavor, more than like actual Oreos themselves. Like I like actual Oreos themselves, but like a cookies and cream cheesecake like Joey used to make. Yeah, liking Raisin Bran is a red flag. Like no, thank you. Now I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Apple Jacks are top tier for me as well. I agree with Skylar. There's just something about like the texture of Apple Jacks, and they have like a cinnamon flavor, but it's not like an overwhelming cinnamon. Like Cinnamon Toast Crunch are way more cinnamony than Apple Jacks. But like Apple Jacks, they have like that red, whatever the red flavor is and the green flavor. It's not apple flavored. I can't exactly tell you what it is.
It's a good combination.
Yeah, you could tell the difference between the red one and the green one too, blindfolded, if you know them. So like, I don't know. It's just a really, really
Fruit Loops are good.
Fruit Loops are really good. Oh yeah.
I forgot about Fruit Loops. Tricks.
Tricks. I was
Crave.
gonna say, have you noticed Tricks are like little balls now instead of being shaped like the fruit?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No.
They're
Somebody
still
complained.
they're still shaped like fruit. You just can't see it because Tricks are for kids. You will not convince me that our little cousins can't see the actual fruits. There's no way. There's no way they just changed into balls when I became an adult. Tricks are for kids. Silly
Maybe.
Frankie. Silly Frankie. Tricks are for kids.
Hey, if that's the case, I'm fine with it.
Me too, because then my kids will have the enjoyment of knowing the true power of being a kid with
I
the
love
tricks.
I mean,
Tricks are outstanding.
Crave's pretty good. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, oh yeah, with
The little
it's like
things with
the
filled with
outside.
chocolate.
Yep, so good. And that's a newer end cereal. They're probably old now, but like those weren't around when we were like little kids. I would say that's like middle school. I think when those came out. The Crave.
Hey, have you ever had Rice Krispie treat cereal?
Yes.
Now
yes.
that is top tier too. There's
Yes.
clusters in there
Yes.
that are like it tastes like Rice Krispie. Those are really good.
Absolutely. Now, what about like Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles? Love them. I would prefer Cocoa Pebbles, but I like both.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm a Fruity Pebble guy.
Okay. Frankie likes to get down and dirty with the fruity. I like it.
But I
like Fruity Pebbles too.
What's the I think you mentioned it. The chocolate cereal, the balls, Cocoa Puffs.
Cocoa Puffs.
So there's another one, I think.
Milky Cocoa Puff.
No, I think there's another one.
The one with the toucan? No, that's
No.
That's
not
Fruit
Count Chocula. That's around Halloween.
Well, I was gonna ask you about the Halloween cereals. Blueberry, Count Chocolate, and then I can't remember the third one.
It's like a pink box.
Yeah. I think it's the same cereal as Blueberry, technically, except they're raspberry flavored cereal instead of blueberry, but like the combination of the marshmallow with the cereal flake is the same. But I can't remember what the H it's called. So if someone wants to throw it in the chat, please do. Frankenberry. Skylar nailed it. I knew Skylar would know his Halloween cereal trivia on top of his game.
That sounds familiar.
So, yeah. Katie said there's supposed to be an icy cereal coming out this year. We had it. I forgot to tell Katie. I didn't even think to tell Katie about that.
Did you try it?
Oh, I tried it. It makes your mouth like cold.
It does. It's
wild.
I had it. I'm like, wow.
Danielle comes out, or one of our cousins comes up to me and says, "Try this. It'll make your mouth cold." I was like, "No."
Imagine eating that with a bowl of cereal, and then you get the cold milk. Your mouth is probably freezing.
Yep.
I want to try it with milk.
Me too. I normally don't like things that are like that make your mouth cold, like mint, but for some reason it works in that cereal.
And it tastes like an icy.
Me too. I'm going to get a box for Katie and I to try with milk, and we're going to eat it when it's really hot out. I think it'll be a refreshing breakfast. So, I'm excited about cereal. I'm going to go on a little cereal kick now. You know what we should do?
I got a question for you when you're done on this.
Thursday night football to kick off the season. That's not going to end well for me. Hey, it was offered to me. What am I supposed to say? No, thank you. Like, Frank, what am I supposed to do here? You weren't with your girlfriend that day. Were you going to say no? I can't try some of this delicious.
She's yet to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe Katie and G could try it together.
Yeah. No. We'll get our girlfriends to try this delicious cereal. But you know what? We didn't even get the full experience because we didn't have milk.
I literally for you when you're done.
Yeah, I had like a handful of it, but really quick. Then your question. Thursday night football to kick off the season. Lions, Chiefs. cereal as the main course.
That's fine with me.
We'll all pour bowls of cereal. We'll all bring our own box of cereal to the table.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine with
that
me.
sounds delightful.
Instead of a soup bar, we'll have a cereal bar.
I'm in like Flynn. I'll make half bowls so I can try one of everyone's. Oh, I'm in. Cereal
because
party.
I feel like with cereal, you can't have like as much as you would with soup because there becomes a point, like, the milk challenge, like your body can't consume a gallon of milk. It's like literally impossible.
Yeah.
Like, whereas I think you could probably have a gallon of soup and be okay. Probably wouldn't feel good, but I don't know if you'd puke. Who knows? But you know what I mean? Like, you physically can't have too much cereal. So you'd have to have like little bowls.
Yeah.
Little trial bowls. But my question for you is, do you think that you will consume at least one bowl of cereal while we're in Door County?
Yes.
I think I did last year.
I think now that we've had this conversation, we almost have to.
Well, they buy the little boxes, like the little box of 8 that have like the variety.
I-
There's like Cocoa Puff.
I did
Trix,
have one last year.
and I
I'm
remember I had one
90%
for
sure
sure.
I had one last year. Dude, that with like one of those bagels.
It's a perfect breakfast in my head.
Ooh. I'm just telling you, that's a great way to start your day. You're going to do a little canoeing or maybe go shop for some jams or maybe, go to Washington Island and for a little boat ride. Nothing better to start off your day than some bagels with a little bit of cereal.
Got that right.
Ooh. I'm in. Ooh. I am in like Flynn. Oh, I just want to talk about cereal the whole time.
Cereal podcast.
My favorite hockey team got dummied. And you called it. You called the number of games and everything.
It's rough.
So, yeah.
It's rough, VP.
It's rough. Frankie finally got a series right, and it came at my expense.
I actually
You did well in the second
every
round.
series.
You did well in the second
Not
round.
the games, but the teams last
Yeah, you did well in the second round. It made up for that disaster of a first round you had. And I had an okay first round and did I go 50% in the second round? Yeah, I went no. Shit. I went 1 for 3 in the second round.
That's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. That is tough. Hey, nobody goes perfect. Nobody goes perfect. You're going to hit some bumps in the roads in the playoffs. And I have no damn idea what I'm going to pick for this one. I'm going to decide when we get there. And I think
it's very tough.
It's not.
For one series, it's tough for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know which one you're going to say. Yeah, of course. Because are you going to have the absolute unmitigated gall to pick your second favorite team over your girlfriend's second favorite team?
I guess. Wait.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Frank. That's a tough one for Frank. I think I know where I'm going to pick. And I don't know, though. I don't know. It all could go either way. But, Frank, we will get to that discussion. Period number 1. I like that period 1 jam.
I do too.
It's a nice jam.
It's not too bad. It's perfect length.
Yep. It's like one little punch to the face, like, hey, mother, pay attention. We're about to talk about some shiz. The subject's about to change in this bitch.
It's all right.
Frank, the Pittsburgh Penguins are searching for a new GM. What do you think?
Did some research.
I figured you would.
And I came across, a few articles. I perused a little bit.
Stinky names on the plate for the Pittsburgh
There's
Penguins.
actually a lot of names, and I'm sure that a lot of them have been dwindled down. And I actually think that's been confirmed. But but they said this is going to be a big week for the Penguin search. So who knows? Maybe by the end of the week we'll have an answer, maybe narrowed down to a couple finalists. But we know Kyle Dubas is not going to be coming to the Pittsburgh Penguins because he said, I'm sticking with the Leafs, or I'm just going to take a break from the NHL this year. But some of the names that I've heard thrown around are Mark Bergevin, Jason Botterill. I'm going to butcher some of these names, by the way. So
it's Bergevin.
Okay. Well, there's more butchering to come.
I'll help you if I can.
Jason Botterill,
Mm-hmm.
John Chayka, Matthew Darche, Ryan Martin, Peter Chiarelli. But some other names that I heard that maybe I would think could be the front runners. There's 2 guys that I didn't name who could be front runners here. Is Jason Karmanos, which Pittsburgh Penguins fans may be familiar with them. He was with the organization when they won 2 Stanley Cups in 2015-16 and 2016 and 17. So I mean, and not to mention, he did win a Stanley Cup with the Hurricanes back in 2005, 2006 when he was with the organization. So he's got 3 Stanley Cups under his belt. He knows how to win with the Pittsburgh Penguins, knows how to get them back into the playoffs. They missed the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. So, I mean, there's obviously some changes that need to be done. If there's a guy for the job, you bring in somebody who's already won a couple Stanley Cups with him. He's definitely could be a front runner. Now, the other guy who not a lot of people have been throwing his name around a lot is Eric Tulsky from the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, Tulsky helped create what we're seeing of this powerhouse organization with the Carolina Hurricanes. So if there's a guy that knows how to build, especially with some of the players in the organization that the Penguins have, they don't have a terrible organization right now. We don't know what how the core is gonna fit into this rebuild or all these changes, but if there's a guy that could create a fantastic organization, it's Eric Tulsky. So I think it's narrowed down to one of those two. We'll see, but I think by the end of the week we'll have a little bit of a clearer picture.
I just have a bad feeling they're going to hire one of the dummies.
I hope
because I hope not either. But Crosby, Malkin, Letang are all in their mid to late 30s. Their prospect system sucks. I would rank it dead last.
Bad.
32 out of 32. They don't have a Lane Hudson like Montreal or a Korchinski like the Blackhawks or a Nemec like the Devils. They're not near. I named a medium team, a bad team, and a good team right there that all have good prospects. It doesn't matter where you are in the standings. And they sold their soul to win the Stanley Cup and go for multiple. So that happens. The Blackhawks were there after 2017.
Yeah, and that's fine because they won their 2 cups.
But what time is it for Pittsburgh? That's the hardest question. It's almost like I feel bad for them because I think they're going to be bad for a really long time, no matter who they hire.
It's time to rebuild.
It's time to rebuild. But are they going to get rid of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to.
You have to, but will they? The Blackhawks hung on to Taves and Kane for far too long, and Taves and Kane are franchise legends equally, if not less, than Crosby and Malkin. I love Taves and I love Kane. They're not Crosby and Malkin. Maybe to the Blackhawks they are what those two are to the Penguins, but in terms of the all-time NHL lure, Crosby and Malkin are both top 20 players ever, and I see it be equally as hard for that team to move on from them, even though they should.
It's hard, but you got to do it.
Sidney Crosby is a free agent after next year. Nobody realized he signed one of those contracts that are illegal to sign now, like a 15-year deal or whatever it was. You can't sign those anymore. That's finally up after this upcoming season. I'm pretty the Colorado Avalanche would make sense for Sidney Crosby. The Edmonton Oilers would make sense for Sidney Crosby. What if Sidney Crosby says, "Let me go play a season with Bedard"? There are all sorts of possibilities. Now, I think there's a certain 34 in Toronto that I see wearing a Blackhawks jersey soon.
I can't wait to touch on some of the stuff we're going to get with the Maple Leafs.
Well,
there's some interesting comments made.
There really are. But I don't know. The Penguins, it's a GM search that's very difficult because I think they're going to still keep trying to win. They had that opportunity to ship everybody out last year, and they chose to keep trying to win.
Well, that's what happened with the Hawks, too, and it didn't pan out.
It didn't pan out for them.
I'm nervous about the Penguins.
How long did Stan Bowman try to reel it back in? Seth Jones, DeBrincat, all these guys that were brought in to try and get that extra year or two of the playoffs. I see the Penguins doing something like that. I see them trading another first-round pick for a defenseman that'll help maybe make them an 8 seed, and maybe they'll fall out and be a 9 seed or a 10 seed and just miss playoffs again. I see that happening to them. I really do, because there's no way. That's why all these dumbass names are on the board, because they're not going to rebuild quite yet. I think they're just going to be a middling team for 3 or 4 more years. Washington's about to go through it too. Now, John Carlson is a little bit younger. They have Connor McMichael and guys like that who are okay. Kuznetsov is not an old man quite yet, So, they might be a little bit better off than the Penguins, and Ovechkin has something that he's chasing for, that'll keep everybody motivated. But as far as like winning the cup, I think Washington is going to be in a very similar boat as Pittsburgh, but at least Washington has their GM in place. It's going to be interesting to see what the Penguins do.
Yeah, I thought that you were like, I don't know what you want me to say.
No, nothing.
That is good.
We agree.
I don't know. I think it's scary times if you're a Penguins fan.
I like the two names you brought up, though. But to me, those are two guys you hire. Those are two guys you hire when Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin hang them up. Then you say, hey, we want Max Celebrini or whoever's going to be the number one pick.
If you want to be honest, I think Jason Karmanos, if he's a guy that come in this year, that's a guy that you try to win with the team you have. And when Crosby and Malkin don't hang up the skates, because he's used to those guys on the team when he won. Bring in a guy like Eric Tulsky, then it's like you might go through a new rebuild because he helped build and rebuild the Carolina Hurricanes from what they are and to what they are today. So you never know. But I hope it's one of those two. Some of the other names on this list, I agree with you. They're just kind of like the dummy names. They're just kind of out there.
Peter Chiarelli. And then they're going to hire Babcock to be the coach.
Yeah, some of those names, like you just got to have some guys you're interviewing. But
yeah, that's true. Well, Frank, on the other side of the state, on the eastern side of the state, the Philadelphia Flyers announced that they will retain Danny Briere as their general manager, and they have hired Keith Jones to be the president of hockey operations. Last week's episode, the breaking news dropped mid-podcast when we were on with Shorts Guy.
Yeah.
Saying that it was going to either be Keith Jones or Ed Olczyk. All three of us agreed that Keith Jones would end up being the likely guy. And then Bucci started tweeting like eyeball emojis, and Bucci's friends with Keith Jones, not Eddie O. So I knew right away that Keith Jones got the job. This was when I was scrolling Twitter after our show had been over. He gets the job. He's got a long road ahead of them. I actually think the Flyers, they're right there with Pittsburgh as the hardest team to take over right now in the NHL, I think. And the reason I think that, if the Penguins wanted to ship out Crosby, or like they could get future assets for them. Who are the Flyers going to trade? Are they going to trade Kevin Hayes? Okay, what are they going to get for Kevin Hayes? A third and a C-level prospect? What are they going to get for Cam Atkinson? Probably even less than that. There's no Connor Bedard next year. Max Celebrini, good player. He'd probably go 5th in this year's draft. Actually, he probably would go like 4th or 5th in this year's draft. I think Fantilli's probably better than, and this is no disrespect, Pucci, whatever his name is, Celebrini. We're going to fumble over that names a bunch, but with all the Italians, you got Fantilli and Celebrini and Parisi and all these guys. I do think the Flyers, they're going to probably be in the sweepstakes for a guy like that again next year. And they probably are a year too late. I'm interested to see what John Tortorella thinks about all this and if he's able to coach a rebuilding team. Historically, he has been unable to do so. But, what are your thoughts?
Keith Jones is the right guy, more so than Eddie Olczyk. Keith Jones knows this organization. He's announced for this organization for nearly 2 decades. Danny Briere, another guy who knows the organization well. But not a lot of, I say this, but also take it with a grain of salt, because if you really look into these guys' careers, they actually spent more time away from the Flyers than they were with the Flyers in their career, but they still know the values that the Flyers have, and they just still know the ins and outs of the organization. Now, Keith Jones is not a man who has experience in a role like this. However, he does have experience evaluating players. Think about how many Flyers games he's watched, how many hockey games he's watched, where he has to evaluate from announcing all these different players on the ice. And he says, so-and-so chipped in when they shouldn't have chipped in. Like, he's been analyzing players for nearly 2 decades. And I think having at least that bit of experience will help him a little bit and try to turn this organization around. Because the Flyers, they're a beloved franchise in the NHL. I remember all those crazy series, Pittsburgh Penguins and Philadelphia Flyers back in the day, and how good they were in 2010 when they made it to the Cup, and they gave the Hawks problems in the Cup. It's just the Philadelphia Flyers are an organization that's beloved in the NHL, And when they're better, it makes, rivalries in the league better. It just makes it more enjoyable. So we'll see how it pans out. But I do think that Keith Jones was the right man for this job.
Yeah, and thing people need to remember, Keith Jones is going to be out there wheeling and dealing. That's Danny Briere's job. We know, listen, I don't know who they're going to pick 7th overall. Edward Sale is a name that comes to mind. Could Will Smith fall to 7? I doubt it, but he might, and that's somebody I could see the Flyers taking. But they're out of the elite. And now if Michkov falls to them, I would do it. No hesitation, because the Flyers aren't going to be good for a long time. I think anybody who's not going to be good for a long time should consider Michkov.
I have a take.
Because what if he comes in 5 years and is as good as Kaprizov? The Wild, it was worth the wait. Now, that was a 3rd-round pick. Much easier to take the risk. But, Michkov, if he wasn't signed next year and he was coming to America next year, he'd be the number 2 pick behind Bedard. He's better than Fantilli. Or he's more skilled than Fantilli. That doesn't mean he will be more productive. Nolan Patrick was more skilled than Andrew Shaw. We know whose career you'd rather have. But that doesn't always mean much. But man, Michkov is amazing. The Flyers have a lot of work to do. They don't have that S-tier prospect anymore. Carter Hart, you could trade him. I know it's hard to trade a young goaltender, but where's Carter Hart going to be when the Flyers are ready to contend again? You don't know. Goalies are so hit and miss. Guys are good 1 year. Blackwood was a Team Canada level goalie 2 years ago. Now he sucks. Things change with goaltenders. Hellebuck will be really, really good 1 year. He's a Vezina candidate the next. Bobrovsky, look at that guy. I've never seen a more hot and cold goaltender in my whole life, because when he's so hot, he's so hot. And when he's so cold, he's so cold. You can't do that if you're the Flyers. So, we'll see what happens. Keith Jones, I've heard he's a magnificent people person, and that's a lot of the times the most important thing when it comes to being the president of hockey operations, because you can help lead Danny Briere to the right situations, and you could come to conclusions together on draft picks and trades and free agent signings. And, then you put it on the coach to, come up with good line combinations and defense pairs and all that. So good luck to the Flyers. I'd like to hear the take you were going to say, though.
I think Michkov falls out of the top 10.
It's possible. It's very possible. Do you remember, and I know there's probably no draft I've talked about more with Mr. Tom Mangarelli than the 2019 NHL draft. Obviously, the Devils took Hughes 1st overall, and the Rangers took Capo Caco 2nd overall. That was non-negotiable. That was non-debatable. Now, if that draft were redone, Capo might not even be a Caco might not even be a 1st rounder. Yeah, he would be a 1st rounder, but if that draft were redone, he wouldn't certainly even go in the top 10. But at the time, those two were non-negotiable. Then you get to the Hawks at 3rd. There were people there that wanted them to take Vasily Podkolzin, but he was in the same boat, signed in Russia for 3 years or whatever. He slipped to Vancouver at 10. So, the Canucks, they got him. He's an okay player for them right now. I don't think he necessarily lived up. I think Michkov is better than Podkolzin, but I'm with you. That certainly could keep teams away. And then if he falls to a team like, I don't know, who was a middle-of-the-pack team this year, but they were middle of the pack because of injuries. And, you could see them being elite again next year. The Pittsburgh Penguins? No, they're not.
Predators?
Yeah, the Predators is a really good example. The Senators. Ooh, the Senators, too. That's a good one.
Maybe
a
the
team.
Wings?
Yeah, the Wings, too. Absolutely. A team that's on the rise they could use a prospect like Michkov, but they're probably okay waiting for him, too, because they're on the rise. I could see Ottawa and Detroit being in the playoffs next year. If Ottawa and Detroit replace the Panthers and the Rangers in the playoffs next year, I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised one bit. And I know the Panthers are on this run, but we've seen teams win the cup and then be out next year because of roster situations and stuff. And Bobrovsky's hit or miss. I'm not saying they're going to. I would pick them. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, man. Michkov out of the top 10, that would be interesting. What if he fell to the Hawks at 19? Now, that would be something. I would take him with the 19th pick. I think it's the 19th pick now.
It is the 19th pick.
I would sign up for the Hawks. I would trade up They have 4 second-round picks.
If I trade up, though, I'm not trading up for Michkov.
Why at 11? You
Nah,
wouldn't. You
I'm
wouldn't.
not. I don't like the fact that he's not going to come over. I don't like that fact.
But he will eventually.
I know. You hope.
Kaprizov came over,
We hope.
and I don't know. Most of them do.
I just think they don't need him right now.
No, but imagine it's 2026.
If I'm trading up, I want somebody better.
There's no one better, more skill, at least right now. I know there will be surprises, right? There will be a second-round pick who's top 10 in the class in scoring, like a Jesper Bratt who was a 6th-round pick, or a DeBrincat who was a 2nd-round pick. Both of them are top 10 in scoring from their draft class. Mitchkov to St. Louis, just a gut feeling. That would make sense too. Oh, dude, I would trade 19 and the Rangers' 2nd-round pick for Kane for pick 11 or 12 if Mitchkov is on the board. No question about it. It wouldn't even be a hesitation in my brain. But also, I'm kind of with Tom. I don't know if he falls quite that far. St. Louis is a good bet.
It's not going to happen, but if he fell to the 2nd round, then I would use one of the Hawks 2nd-round picks to draft him.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about trading a 1st and a 2nd up to another 1st to get him. Of course, I would do a 2nd.
But the 19th, I don't know.
They have 4 2nd-round picks.
Yeah,
They could trade 2 of those to move back into the 1st for something. I mean, this 1st round is unreal.
The 2nd round's going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, well, but the Rangers' 2nd-round pick is in the latter half of it. So, like, if you move pick, what is that, pick 50-something from the Rangers? If you move that and 19 up to 10 for Michkov, ooh, you got Bedard and Michkov, the 2 guys who are probably number 1 and 2 in terms of talent in this draft. Like, I don't know. There's definitely part of me could see that an elite team, or, the Hawks aren't an elite team yet, but they're going to have Bedard, which will expedite things by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A team like that trading up to grab Michkov if he falls. He's going to be a big story at the draft, I think. Yeah, Bedard, that'll be fun. The Hawks will draft him, and then in 5 minutes, that's over. On to the next team. The Ducks, they take Fantilli. Wow, what a surprise. Okay, at 3, the Columbus Blue Jackets take Leo Carlsson. Wow, they like Swedish guys anyway. Wow, what a surprise. Then you get to 4, and that's when the draft really starts. Where's Michkov going to go? Who's going to take Will Smith? Who's taking the defenseman? I forget his name. He has a double last name, like the hyphenated last name, the top defenseman in the draft. That's going to be fun. And, this all came from talking about the Flyers, but, the Flyers are right in that mix at 7. So
maybe the Flyers get him.
Possible. Frank, I know you've been wanting to talk about this. I'll just let you rattle it off. The Toronto Maple Leafs were eliminated from postseason contention in 5 games by the Florida Panthers. What's your takeaway?
I gave the Leafs too much credit. I thought the Panthers, it was going 6. But anyway, Kyle Dubas had some interesting comments about the offseason for the Maple Leafs. He stated nothing is off the table. He would consider anything, citing the Tkachuk-Huberdeau trade. Right there, your eyes light up. Well, Tkachuk, who's a guy on the Leafs that's like Tkachuk? We talking about Matthews or Marner? Who we talking about? You look, Auston Matthews and William Nylander only have 1 year left on their contract. Do they re-signed? It's hard to get rid of those guys when you're, when they're just so good and so talented. Would the Leafs really let them go? But with Kyle Dubas stating, there's nothing off the table, kind of red flags go in there and say, wait a second. Are they gone? Is one of them gone? Is both gone? Are they both staying? Right now, Matt Murray, he's got to go. He's taken up $4.7 million in cap space. Get him off the team. He's gone. Free up that cap space. There's a lot of uncertainty with Matt Murray. So if I'm Kyle Dubas or whoever's going to take over, if he takes a break, no, he's gone. That's an extra $4.7 million you could use elsewhere. Now, you also got O'Reilly, Kampf, Achari. They're all unrestricted free agents. What's going to happen with them? The way Dubas is talking is there's going to be a lot of changes, like significant changes. And I think that it needs to be done because the Leafs just don't know how to win in the playoffs. They just fall off a cliff, and things need to change because with the amount of talent that they have on their team, they should be a lot better than they are. and just things aren't clicking right now. And it's nothing against Kyle Dubas. I think he's fantastic, but I agree with him. There needs to be change, and nothing is off the table. So I'm very interested to see what happens this offseason, which not saying that Auston Matthews is going to come to the Hawks, but I feel like there's even a more possibility that that does happen potentially one day because of the comments I heard.
Yeah, I mean, he's eligible to sign his extension on July 1. And, he has a year to do so before he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Well, they're not going to lose Auston Matthews for nothing, right? Like, they're going to trade him, and then he'll hit free agency if that's the case, or he'll sign an extension, and this will all be moot point if he does that on July 1st, which is very possible.
Yeah.
Man, I never thought signing Tavares would be a bad idea, because it was. It just was. It's 11 mil in cap space. He had 80 points. 80 points is awesome if you're Nico Hischier, who's a Selke Trophy candidate. But it's not awesome if all you provide is offense. It's just average. Like, it's an $8 million player. And like a guy like Nico makes 7.5, but he's, again, nominated for the Selke Trophy. John Tavares isn't even like the 5th best defensive forward on his team. But yeah, 80 points is nice. A lot of power play. A lot of William Nylander, making him look younger. And nobody will take that contract off the books. Nobody's trading for Tavares, so they have to move out somebody else. Do they move out Nylander or Marner? I would not move out Matthews unless you don't or know he's not leaving. But you have to call Auston Matthews and be like, dude, we need to know what you're doing. What are you thinking? Like, it will hurt the Maple Leafs franchise so bad. I think for like years. Like Kovalchuk leaving the Devils in the same and a year later after Parise leaving the Devils for nothing level of crippling, which is what happened to the Devils. Look how long it took them to get good again. I mean, I legitimately think there's that level of concern in Toronto right now. And like Morgan Riley wants to stay. He doesn't want the band to get broken up. They don't have goaltending. We found out Samsonov was hurt. So like, okay, he had a really good year. But like, you're right. It just, you don't expect them to win the cup right after winning the first round series for the first time in that long. Like, they didn't even play that well against Tampa, though. 3 overtime wins on the road. Like, Tampa arguably played better and just kind of got unlucky and misfortune because of injuries and lack of, not lack of depth. It didn't seem like Tampa was all there this year. Like, all year long, I thought, like, the best matchup for the Maple Leafs in the first round is the Lightning. And it ended up being the case because they didn't even play that well and still won. Then they played the Florida Panthers, who came off this huge, big win over the Bruins, and they took them out too. So, it's a little bit of credit to Florida. There's no doubt about that. They were able to get a series win in 5 without a single goal from Tkachuk. I think that speaks to their depth and Matthew Tkachuk's ability to not need to score to be effective too, because I still think without him they lose, even though he didn't score. He makes plays, he makes big hits, he gets under the skin of his opponents. He's literally the complete package. 2 players had 80-plus points and 100-plus penalty minutes this season. They were Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. Like, they're those types of kids. And as far as the Maple Leafs, I don't know what other 100-point player could be traded. When he talks about a Huberdeau for Tkachuk type deal, like, I don't
have
know.
no idea.
Does Draisaitl get traded for Matthews or something like that? Like, those are all things that are just crazy to think about. But like, that's the level of trade Kyle is talking about.
It's a real possibility, though. It's something you got to think about.
Or like, would the Maple Leafs be better off with Nugent Hopkins than, like Marner? You can argue. You can absolutely. Marner's great. But elite scoring wingers, they're not quite like elite scoring centers, right? Mm-hmm. Like, are the Devils happier with Hischier and Hughes than the Maple Leafs are with Matthews and Marner? Absolutely. Every player, Marner and Matthews, are more skilled than Hischier, but he provides something that like Nugent Hopkins also provides. Mm-hmm. Look at the Kings and the Bruins. Bergeron and Krejci were more productive than McDavid and Draisaitl in their playoff careers up to this point, up to this age. And that's because playoffs are just a little bit different. We'll see what the Maple Leafs do, but definitely not easy. And if they're searching for a GM and a coach too on top of it, that's going to be tough. But I think ultimately Dubas and Keefe return.
Probably. Yeah, I'm more confident in Dubas returning than Keefe.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, they might both return. But
for
if I had
sure.
to choose one, probably Dubas is like coming back for sure.
Yeah, Keefe, he's a good coach, but he made some boneheaded decisions in my
He
opinion
did
too.
make
I felt the same way about Montgomery in the first round. Like, what are you doing starting Allmark in game 6? He can't even move. Game 6, he can't even move. And like Bergeron did more detriment playing hurt than he did if somebody else who's healthy. I do believe in that. A little annoyed with the Devils, right? Like Hamilton, he played with a big bump on his wrist and he couldn't shoot the puck. That's why they put Luke Hughes on the top pair with him. Well, then take Hamilton out of the lineup and put in Nemec. Like, what are you doing? It just makes no sense how guys playing hurt, they get praised like, oh, yay, hockey players, woo. But like, not if you at 50% isn't as good as our top prospect at 100%. I understand getting stitches in your face, and if it doesn't affect your play, like awesome, hockey players, great. But if it makes you a worse player and like other people could help you more, no, get that out of here. Tired of it. McDavid and the Oilers also out. Probably the second biggest disappointment in the second round. Probably the second. No, the Bruins are the biggest disappointment in the playoffs, and the Rangers are up there too. But I predicted that easily. Like Rangers had no chance against the Devils. But they're up there for the biggest disappointment in the playoffs. What's your takeaway?
If you would have asked if they're going to be better last year or this year, you probably would have said this year. And they're actually worse this year. They only went through 12 playoff games last year, 16 playoff games and into the third round. I mean, at the end of the day, 2 men in a power play can't beat a team. It's great. You had a historic power play. Fantastic. Those were their only 2 goals of Game 7 were on the power play. But this team needs some more 5-on-5 scoring. I mean, either that or Vegas did a very, very good job at limiting their 5-on-5 opportunities because
Both.
I think there's really I don't even know how to say this. You don't need a lot of change on this team, I wouldn't think. I think they're good enough to bring back the same core next year. Like, there don't need to be any major changes, but there's something got to do about the 5-on-5 scoring because, like I said, it's great you're on the power play, but when you're running into a disciplined team like Vegas who doesn't take a lot of penalties, I mean, what do you expect? The big problem for me is I think Stuart Skinner was a bit overrated. Congrats. He was an all-star, played great as a rookie. He's only played in 61 games in his NHL career, whatever it is. It's great. He was fantastic, right? I mean, that's more than anybody would have expected from him. But let's not forget, this was Jack Campbell's team at the beginning of the year and heading into the season. So I think Stuart Skinner was just, a little bit overrated in the playoffs. And I said that in the Kings series, and not many people talked about it against the Los Angeles Kings because the Oilers put up 6 or 7 goals. So him giving up 3 or 4 didn't matter. But then when you're playing against the Vegas Golden Knights, completely different team, a more deeper team, a more disciplined team. I mean, yeah, they kind of ran into a brick wall. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, they're going to bring back Stuart Skinner. I mean, they'd be stupid not to, you would think. But, yeah, you got to figure out something, whether Stuart Skinner moves to a backup, you go out and get a veteran because, honestly, imagine this team with, like, a veteran goaltender. I think they would have been a different team. A Marc-Andre Fleury even. Hell, Jonathan Quick, if they were able to get Quick before he went to the Knights, it's just, I think they just need minor changes. There's nothing major that needs to happen. Maybe a few tweaks in the game plan, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. In today's NHL, I go into every season thinking that there's a chance that every goalie sucks. Like, because they're just so hit or miss these days. There's no Marty Brodeur playing 15 straight years of elite goalie anymore.
Yeah.
Like, who hasn't had one rough year in the last 5 as a goalie? Saros had a down year 3 years ago. He's been a Vezina caliber goalie last year and this year. Shesterkin is only entering year 3 of being a full-time starter. He hasn't had a bad year yet, but it's coming. Vasilevsky wasn't all that good this year. Like Vasilevsky wasn't typical Vasilevsky this year.
Yeah.
Pekka Rinne had a couple years where he was like, is Rinne losing it? And then he comes back and makes the cup the following year. I could see the Oilers trading for Hellebuck, but it wouldn't shock me if we don't see Vezina Hellebuck on that team. It's just one of those things. Like, I thought Skinner was okay, and I believe you nailed it with the power play 5-on-5 stuff. I think they would have beat anybody in the West not named Vegas. I think they would have killed the Stars. The Stars love taking penalties. They love the Kraken were on the power play a lot, and like Edmonton scores more in that situation. Now the Stars have an elite goalie, so like that changes things, of course, too. Vegas doesn't have an elite goalie; they have a very good couple goalies. I think they've used 5 goalies this year. But I mean, Edmonton, I would run it back again next year. But like you said, entire summer has to be focused at 5-on-5 scoring. And that includes McDavid and Draisaitl. They were the only team in the playoffs where every forward had double-digit goals in the regular season. They have depth. When people talk about Edmonton needing more depth, I don't agree. I do not agree. They have the depth needed. I would try to retain Ekholm. Darnell Nurse is a really solid defenseman. Evan Bouchard is a power play dog, but he's probably a third pair. He reminds me of like a way better version of Eric Gustafsson. Eric Gustafsson sucked. Like I tried to tell you when he had 50-something points. It's the worst 50 points I've ever seen. But Bouchard has a clap bomb that I think is very valuable on the power play. And he's a first-round pick, like high-end skill. He's got the pedigree. So, maybe another depth defenseman and work on that 5-on-5. Maybe look in the offseason. Hey, what guy scored the most goals of any free agent 5-on-5 last year? And you don't even play him on the power play.
Yeah.
A modern-day Michael Grabner. Michael Grabner had like 27 goals one year, and one of them was on the power play. Just a solid third or fourth line. Max Domi would be perfect in Edmonton. Don't play him on the power play. Put him on the third line. You're meant to score goals 5-on-5. A guy like that could really go a long way in helping everyone's 5-on-5 game. It'll make McDavid more dangerous. It'll make Draisaitl more dangerous. I would run it back again if I'm the Oilers. It's a disappointing year, but it happens. Only one team wins the cup. Frank, rip Kraken. They're out after their second year in the league. They surprised everyone. They weren't competitively bad. They're not a top 5 pick. They were outstanding all season long.
Yeah.
And they had 4 second lines, in my opinion. They didn't have any first line. McCann had 40 goals, but what did he have, like 60 points? Like McCann, outstanding goal scoring season. He's not Jack Hughes, right? Or Bedard, having 100 points. You could have 40 goals. That's awesome. He's like DeBrincat. DeBrincat is like a 40-goal scorer that he doesn't make everybody else around him better, but he could snipe the puck. And, Beniers, I think, can be a guy like that. But all-around solid defensive game. He's going to win the Calder Trophy. They got good goaltending, especially in the playoffs from Grubauer. Martin Jones had a good year. On the back end, a guy like Vince Dunn, Adam Larson. Just a really solid Kraken team. I don't know if they're going to be this good again next year, but they're going to come in thinking they could prove everybody wrong. Maybe Shane Wright has an outstanding camp after developing back in the OHL this season and playing in the World Juniors and seeing how the Kraken worked in the early part of the season and how great they were at the end might make him a little bit more motivated. I'm excited for Shane Wright's future with them. I don't know, Frank.
Should be interesting to get Shane Wright back in this lineup. Props to the Kraken, right? They silenced all the doubters, including us. And, Game 7 was amazing. It was one of the best playoff games of the 2023 playoffs. It was electric. Rupe Hintz's goal, it was just blew the roof off the place. But it was a very defensive game and something we weren't kind of expecting maybe as much as we saw in the previous games. But, the Dallas Stars, when they lead after 2 periods, they're undefeated this year in the postseason. So when it got to that point, the Kraken are trying to play from behind in a Game 7, which isn't always easy to do. Interestingly enough, there was a stat that 51% of Game 7s are decided by 1 goal, which just blew my mind. And this one ended up being 2-1. So just adds more to the stats, bring it up to like 52% now or whatever the case may be. But, I mean, there was nothing about their season they should be disappointed in. They defeated the reigning Stanley Cup champions in the Colorado Avalanche. And I think most importantly, they really grew the game of hockey in Seattle. They really did a good job at getting the fans involved, getting the city of Seattle involved. And, being your second team or being your second year into the league, I mean, that's really what you got to do. I mean, would it be nice to win a Stanley Cup? Of course, right? That's the goal here. But I think even though they lost, it was a win in their franchise's books.
I agree. And I think they're on the path to development.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a tweet. I can't remember if it was from Wyshynski or one of these other big J journos. If the Edmonton Oilers or Toronto Maple Leafs folded and restarted from scratch as an expansion team with an expansion draft, they would have a way better chance to win the Stanley Cup. And, I started thinking about it. I was like, why don't teams just keep their stars and try to make a small trade for one player from every team? I know that sounds maybe not every team, but try to mimic the Golden Knights roster. What is it that makes Vegas so good? Now they signed Pietrangelo, they traded for Stone, they traded for Eichel. But in that first year, what made them so good? It was Marchessault, who was on Tampa Bay and Florida's second line. It was Wild Bill, who scored 6 goals for Columbus the year before. It was Riley Smith, who was traded to the Bruins for Tyler Seguin and had an okay year there, 18 goals or whatever, but then, just a solid second liner.
Yeah.
Shea Theodore. You could make a trade for a guy like Shea Theodore if you're one of these teams. I don't know. I just think you can model yourself after the expansion franchises just a tad, and you might find yourself having a little bit more success. It's a copycat league. Every league is a copycat league. Shout out to the Kraken. It took them the extra year. They were bad the 1 year. They got Shane Wright out of it, and now they're ready to compete. And I think they will. They'll have top 10 odds to win the Stanley Cup next year, I think. The bookies might be a little anti-Kraken because of the fact that they were a surprise good team this year, and they weren't a high-end good team, but they overperformed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think every team left will have higher odds to win the Stanley Cup next year to start the year. The Devils probably will. The Rangers probably will. The Bruins probably will. But, the Kraken will be up there. So, good for them. Speaking of the Devils, bye-bye.
Sorry, VP.
Yeah, that was tough. It was a very, very fun year. It was probably my favorite year enjoying one of my favorite teams in my entire life because I didn't think they'd be good.
No.
I know I predicted them to make the playoffs at the beginning of the year, but I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I remember I said, you know what, Frank? Screw it.
Uh-huh.
Devils. That's how I did it. I didn't mean it. I was wrong. They were so bad for so long. And they came into this year and they started the season 0-2. And then in game 3, they went down 2-0 to the Anaheim Ducks. And they crawled out of that hole and won the game in regulation, 3-2. And from that moment on, things changed. Oh, they were 2-2, and then they got their asses kicked by Washington. Ovechkin scored on the power play. They got killed 6-2. And then they were like, you know what? We're done with this crap. We're done with this crap, man. We're going to win 13 in a row. And they proceeded to win 13 games in a row. And they ended November with one of the best records in the NHL. And they carried it all the way to the end of the regular season where they had the 3rd best record.
It's crazy.
And it took one of the two teams with a better record than them to knock them out of the playoffs after winning a first-round series against the New York Rangers. This season was everything I could have ever asked for and more. I saw them 3 times in person this year. Once at the Rock, once at Madison Square Garden, and once at the United Center. And, it was just a glorious season. It was as much fun as I've ever had. And now, you saw Luke Hughes make his debut. Jack Hughes took a step. He's a superstar. Nico Hischier took a step. He's a superstar. You wanted 80 points from Nico. You got it. Mm-hmm. You wanted 100 points from Jack. You got it. He had 99, but you know what? He's a 100-point player. and he's 21. Like, he'll probably be a 110-point player for most of his career. Nemec developed well in the AHL. They got good goaltending. Hamilton lived up to his contract. Like, Bratt he put it together a second straight 70-point season, just really good. They traded for Timo Meier. Holy shit. Like, it was just fun. So I have no complaints. It was sad the night it happened. It was an overtime. Like, when you get eliminated in overtime, it's like you're alive, dead. Gone. You know what I mean? It's like you get sniped. It's like you're running across the field in Call of Duty and you get picked off. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're alive, because if that next shot of yours goes in, boom, game 6 at the Rock, let's force game 7. But, freaking Jesper Fast. You stinky New York Rangers fans out there, you had Jesper Fast. You had Brady Shea. But no, you needed Trouba. You needed to spend $9 million on Trouba. You needed Patrick Kane. You needed Vladimir Tarasenko. This isn't the Olympics. You build a team. And Jesper Fast at $4 million would have been so much better for the New York Rangers than Patrick Kane or Vladimir Tarasenko at $1,000 million. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Credit to the Carolina Hurricanes. They deserve all the props. They're a better team this year. I hope this is the last year that Carolina is the better team. Because they were better. They had one more point, and you had one more point. You had one more point, and they showed their playoff experience in the postseason. Brent Burns came to play. I mean, we'll get to them when we get to the conference finals conversation, but I was always going to go into a little bit more depth on the Devils series. That's just natural. But, I mean, what a series, what a year, what a team. Let's run it back next year. Luke Hughes will be better. Jack Hughes will be better. And that's saying something because they were really, really awesome this year.
Hey, and don't forget, it was a historic improvement from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
the greatest improvement in the history of the NHL from year to year.
Yep. It is. It was unbelievable, and I think there's a lot of, question marks going into next season. What's going to happen with Lindy Ruff? Is he going to stick around? Timo Meier, Jesper Bratt. Is Bratt gone? I love Bratt on the Devils. I think he's part of the glue that holds everything together. So I would love to see him stay with the Devils, but you never know. Then you got training camp with guys like Nolan Foote, Alexander Holtz, Nemec. These are guys that are going to be competing to get on this talented roster and make the Devils even better. I don't know if you've ever heard of Larry Brook, who writes for the New York Post.
Oh yeah.
He kind of agrees. What I've been saying is the Devils need a goaltender. They really do. Schmid was there, but he wasn't the answer against the Carolina Hurricanes. I think you sign Schmid, and Schmid plays as a backup. And, he's already great. As a starter, he was great in the playoffs. So let's, I wouldn't imagine what he'd turn out to be if he was a backup to maybe a veteran. You mentioned Hellebuck for the Oilers, but why not Hellebuck going to the Devils? I mean, he made a perfect point. You need a goaltender to take you from contender to champion. And I really think that's one of the biggest things that the Devils are missing right now. If they had better goaltending, I think that maybe they could have gave the Carolina Hurricanes a run for their money. But the Carolina Hurricanes, I've been saying it all season, they're so good. This team is unbelievable. This is an unbelievable team. That's why I have them winning the Stanley Cup in our bracket. They're fantastic, and no shame in the Devils. They weren't supposed to be this good this year, so they accomplished a lot, and I think that they got a lot of experience under their belt. This was good for them in a way, so every team's got to pay their dues, and the Devils are right there, and they'll be right back up there in the Metro next year, so I don't think you got anything to worry about.
No, I think they could win the Metro next year. I do. They almost won it this year by accident. I'm trying to think. Hellebuck would be awesome. He's probably the only super elite option this year. Vanacek, 2 goalies in Devils history have ever won 30 games in a season. Vanacek and Brodeur. He had a really good year. He was bad with Washington in the playoffs. So maybe you run it back with Vanacek, Schmid, and a new guy. And then Vanacek doesn't touch the playoffs. You can win in the regular season with Vanacek and Schmid. You absolutely can. They did this.
Should be the backup. He has to be the backup.
Yeah,
it's time.
They drafted the second best goalie in the draft last year, Tyler Brennan. So we'll see what becomes of his career. He's a long way away, obviously. But, I mean, you never know. Do you ever think, though, take yourself back to like being in high school? The Devils are a goaltender away.
Yeah.
That's just not. They were always a center away or a winger away. They were never a defenseman or a goalie
Yeah.
away. It's just how much the NHL in general has changed, but
They really are.
specifically the
They
Devils.
need a goaltender. They really do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad somebody who's more notable than me agrees with me, and he makes the same point. That
Now, let me ask you this though. What about like Kemper? And the fact that Vegas is in the conference finals with Adin Hill. Like, I do think there's a world. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I would go get a goalie if I could. But I do think there could be a world where Jack Hughes, Heischer, all of them in their prime could lift a medium goalie.
They could, right? But Adin Hill didn't get Vegas to this point. Brossoit kind of took him through Winnipeg.
And they were chanting, he's a backup.
Right. That's fine. But, I mean, you look at the season as a whole, too, and Logan Thompson kind of was there for Vegas, too.
Former Devil.
So, I think Hellebuck would be a perfect fit. A Vezina-type goaltender, a veteran on the team, that's what you need. I mean, you could get veterans who are, Darcy Kemper. I wouldn't love it for the Devils, but I think you need the veteran. Get him Fleury. Get a Hellebuck.
The only reason I brought up Kemper was because he won the Cup in Colorado. Because like prime McKinnon, prime Rantanen, after all those years of paying their dues, they elevated the goaltender. I see a world where that happens for the Devils. I just not with the players as young as they are right now. So, but Hellebuck, I worry he's not as good. Like every time some of these goalies they switch teams and whatnot, and like it's just not the same.
It's worse. It's worth a risk, though. I think.
I think so too, because it probably wouldn't cost all that much too. To trade for Hellebuck, you could probably move Bratt's rights because he's an unrestricted free agent. Or a restricted free agent. I mean, you could trade his rights, a second round pick, and Nolan Foote, let's say, for Hellebuck. So a trade package, something along those lines. So we'll see what happens with the Devils. Today, Tom Fitzgerald said, we don't have a first-round pick anymore, but that could change at any time. So that makes me wonder if they say, hey, Bratt, we have Timo Meier. If you don't want to take less money than Jack Hughes, then so long, because you're not worth Jesper Bratt deserves a $7 million contract, not a penny more. Mm-hmm. And I would even go up to 8. With the assumption that he could probably get to 80 points. Mm-hmm. He was in the mid-70s this year. And he's a 6th round pick. Like, all credit to Jesper Bratt, great player. But he's not Jack Hughes. He's not even Nico Heischer. Mm-hmm. I would probably rather Timo Meier, just because Timo Meier could pump the puck in the net. Jesper Bratt's more of a playmaker, and they have Hughes and Heischer, who are also more of playmakers. But we learned this year, though, that Jack Hughes is hell of a shooter as well. He's more of the complete package. But, I mean, I like where they're going. Luke Hughes was awesome in Game 5. He had the second most ice on the Devils, only to John Marino, and he was playing on the top pair with Hamilton and great on the power play. He can eat big minutes, and next year it's only going to be better because he'll be more prepared and long off season of training for the NHL. So it's going to be fun to watch. Can't wait. I literally already can't wait for the next Devil season.
Oh, yeah.
Probably how many days would you say? 180, 190?
No,
something like that.
Less than that.
You think less than that probably?
Well, 5. It's 5 months away, less than 5 months, and 5 times 30 is 150. So probably in the 140s.
Yeah, you're right. Because you know what? That's true. Not long after the Stanley Cup is awarded is when we get under 100 days and they start using jersey numbers to like count down the days.
140-ish.
Yeah, okay.
Not bad.
140-ish, because we also don't know the exact day. It could be October 3rd. It could be October 10th.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's roughly in there. Good call. That makes me feel better. Good. Not that I'm rushing summer. I'm very much looking forward to a little break and taking my brain off of that. And I'll be ready to rock with the Hughes brothers by October. I'll be well rested. Mm-hmm. My brain still kind of like is processing what happened in the playoffs. And I know we got 2 more series, but in terms of the Devils, I still haven't fully accepted that they're gone. Like it still hasn't even. Monday night would have been Game 7 against Carolina, and I was like, "Oh, damn it!" but we'll see what happens. And I didn't write this down, Frank, but it broke after I sent you the sheet. And if some news breaks after I send you the sheet, it's late as shit.
Yeah,
um,
got that right.
yeah, the Arizona. I had no excuse yesterday. I went to a kid baseball game yesterday. Otherwise, I didn't think about the fact that there was no hockey, so like I could have had the sheet done at 9 in the morning. But I didn't. During the playoffs, though, I think the sheet is very easy to predict. If I'm
Kinda.
you, if
Not
I'm
this
you.
first period though.
No, not this but we're talking
Yeah, right.
Carolina, Florida. We're talking Vegas, Dallas, the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Yeah.
You knew about a certain video game I'm going to bring up 1,000 times. By the way, but yeah, bye Devils. Oh no, I was already off that. After I sent you the sheet, we learned that in Arizona, I don't know if it's the mayor or like the board, the people of Tempe voted no to the development of
my
a
favorite
building.
hockey story of the week.
Oh, well, all right. It could just be your favorite hockey. That's fine, but it's like huge enough news that it needs to be talked about. The city. Why is that your? It should be your least favorite hockey story of the week.
I never like the favorite hockey story is just like something I feel like that needs to be brought up.
Yeah, for sure. It was, I guess, yeah. The city of Tempe said no to building a state-of-the-art building for the Arizona Coyotes.
It's a shame.
After getting booted out of Glendale, and now they're playing at Mullet Arena. It came out today that they are locked into Mullet Arena for next year now. They're not moving this offseason. But I would say as of right now, as a result of this news, the voters saying no to a building being built in Tempe for the Arizona Coyotes, and it would have been for other things too. There were probably anti-sports people who voted no. I don't care about hockey. Well, freaking, your favorite country artist would have came and played there too, or your favorite rock band would have came and played there too. Just dumb people. But I would say right now it's 50-50. I legitimately believe, with my knowledge and what I've been told and what I've read, that we are 50-50 on whether or not the Arizona Coyotes remain in Arizona. They will not.
They're gone.
You think they're gone?
I think that's more than 50%. I think they're gone.
Go ahead with your analysis.
I think there's a possibility they go to Atlanta. I mean, that would be the only place I think. I don't know where else they would go.
I think there's one.
I don't think they're going to Canada. You think they're going to Canada?
No.
Who else? What's a lock?
They're not. I don't think they're going to Atlanta, because then you would have to realign. Because of the conferences, you would have to shove someone from the East back to the West, like Detroit or Columbus or something.
Back.
But I never understood Detroit being in the Western Conference in the Eastern Time Zone, though. That was always wild to me. Same thing with Columbus. I guess there are a couple.
But the Bulls are in the East, and the Hawks are in the West.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So I don't know. I have no idea.
But I got some analysis though.
The White Sox are in the same division as the Tigers and Guardians too, who are also in the East. So I guess that is kind of a flawed logic. But I think the front runner is Houston. They have a building, they have an owner, they have everything. They're like a guy willing to buy. And then I think there are two dark horses. Babcock to the Houston Coyotes. That'd be funny. A dark horse is Salt Lake City. The owner already tweeted that it's in motion to try and get them to move there to where the Jazz play.
Oh.
So I do think that's a possibility. I think Atlanta gets a team, but it's expansion.
Okay.
I think we expand to 34 teams. Atlanta's one of them.
It's a lot of teams.
It's a lot of teams. Atlanta will be one of them. I don't know if they'll be the Thrashers or whatnot. They certainly won't be the Flames. But I would probably be the Thrashers, I would guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Quebec Nordiques came back, or if my vote, the Hartford Whalers. I think Milwaukee could get a team. Milwaukee's on my Mount Rushmore of possible destinations for the Coyotes. I would do Houston, Salt Lake City, Kansas City, Milwaukee. as my possible destinations for the Coyotes if they move. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I love the Coyotes in Arizona. I think it's so great for hockey. Auston Matthews doesn't exist if there's no Arizona Coyotes. ASU becoming like an elite hockey program doesn't happen without the Coyotes. I hope they stay so bad. I know it'd be exciting, like there'd be a new team, but it really wouldn't, because like it'd just be the same franchise. It's not like an expansion team where it's all new players and all new like management. Like no, it would be freaking Clayton Keller and all those guys moving up to whatever town to play. I think Arizona has a great sports scene. And if done right, hockey can join the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks, who are so beloved, and the Denver Nuggets. I mean, look at them.
Yeah.
Look at them. And I know Denver's in Colorado, but like, I just, those Southwest states could use a hockey team. And I don't know. I mean, know. The Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
They're always outstanding. Sports can thrive in Arizona, and the Coyotes could do it right. Their ownership is so dumb.
It was going to be so nice
booted.
too. The arena.
I know you saw the blueprint. Oh yeah.
Oh my God!
So
Not only that, but like you remove a landfill that's next to Tempe, and then it would have been a 16,000 seat arena, a practice rink, 2 hotels, retail shops, 1,600 apartments, a theater, and even a sports book. And you vote no on that, and it's stupid. It was dumb. I don't know why you would vote no on that. Maybe I'm different because I like hockey, but obviously people in Arizona feel differently. So it's a shame because the building was going to be beautiful. Palm trees leading up to the arena. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I wish they would stay. I'm sorry I took your favorite hockey story of the week.
It's all right.
And you know what?
Unless you got one, you could.
I mean, I was just going to talk about the junior leagues,
Mm-hmm.
The OHL and all that. But I'm out of touch on the scores. I know last night I saw it on NHL Network. The Quebec Remparts won against the Halifax Mooseheads in overtime, but we'll have a better update for you on what's going on in the OHL playoffs for the Memorial Cup later on. But obviously I'm very excited about the Memorial Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Really the only way to watch it. Like they don't have every game from the QMJHL or whatnot on NHL Network. It's like only certain ones. So it's kind of hard to follow unless you're like actively looking for it on Twitter. And I wish that's something American hockey lags on a little bit, is getting junior hockey to the fans. Cause like a lot of those kids are going to play in the NHL, some of them at least. So, and I love the Halifax Mooseheads jerseys. They're so Christmassy. But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully I think there is a package where you can like watch all the juniors, the OHL TV or something. I'm going to look into that because I want more. My love for hockey is insatiable and I could get more out of it. So looking forward to seeing how the Memorial Cup goes. Frank, it was a long first period, dude.
It was very long. I'm out of breath.
It's a lot of talking.
It is
a lot of information. A lot of smart analysis, though, on some of the big stories in the NHL. Frank, let's talk about the conference finals. Period number 2. Welcome to period 2. Frank, your Carolina Hurricanes are taking on the Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers surprising. Carolina Panthers not so Panthers. What the fuck? Why would I say?
Carolina Panthers?
Did I say Panthers the whole time?
It's a real thing.
Did I say Panthers the whole time?
You said yeah.
Did I say Hurricanes though to start?
I don't think so.
I meant Hurricanes though. Like I know
what you meant.
I know the difference between my Carolina pro sports organizations.
Well, I know what you meant, but you didn't say it.
Yeah, well, Carolina Hurricanes against the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals. That was not. No, Florida surprising. Carolina's not. And then in the West, you got the Vegas Golden Knights against the Dallas Stars. The first, third, fourth, and seventh southernmost teams in the NHL are in the conference finals. Pretty crazy. It's a lot of football towns.
It's interesting.
It's a lot of football towns playing in the conference finals for the NHL. Frank, we'll start with Carolina versus Florida. Talk about the forward, the D, the goalies, whatever it is you want to talk about. Break it down.
Well, on the offensive side of things, the Panthers have the best offensive player of either team in Kachuk. However, it's so close. The depth, I think I lean towards a little more with Carolina. Aho, Nikas, Jarvis, Teravainen. But, I mean, the Panthers as well. Barkov, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Bennett. I mean, it's pretty close. And the way that those depth players are performing on Florida make it a scary thing. Florida has the better power play on paper, but I wouldn't count out the Hurricanes whatsoever. You want me to go through everything? Defense, goaltender, just the whole
Yeah,
thing?
whatever you got.
All right. Well, on the defensive side of things, I think this is a huge swing in favor of Carolina. Carolina, I mean, their entire game is built around defense. We thought the Devils Carolina series was going to be a very defensive series, and some games it really wasn't for the first, few games of the series. But oh man, I think this is also the best defense that the Carolina. No, see, I'm going to say the Panthers, Carolina Panthers. See what you did to me?
So
This
Skylar's
is
telling you to call them the Carolina Tigers.
This is the best defense that the Panthers will run into. It's a better defense than Toronto. It's a better defense than the Bruins. This defense for the Carolina Hurricanes is a real deal. You, as a Devils fan, saw it firsthand. I mean, you got guys like Brent Burns, Slavin, Skagey, Pesci, Ghost, Chatfield. I mean, that's a pretty good six right there. And when you look, and why I say, like I said earlier, why you don't count the Hurricanes power play out is because the Panthers penalty kills at 65.8% in the playoffs, which is terrible. That is a stinky, stinky penalty kill. And if you're going to give a team that has pretty good depth like the Carolina Hurricanes chances on the power play and you can't stop it, that's a big problem. And interestingly enough, the I thought the Carolina Hurricanes had one of the best penalty kills, but I could be wrong.
No, they have a pretty good penalty kill.
They have a pretty good.
They smothered the Devils. Like, they outscored the Devils 7-2 on the penalty kill this season. 7 shorthanded goals in the regular season and playoffs combined. I don't know how that applied to everybody else, but the Devils have a very aggressive power play, like where they work the umbrella and feed Jack Hughes to make either a shot decision or a pass decision. Carolina smothered it unlike any team in the regular season this year. A big key to them winning that series.
There's one team I'm thinking of that's a little bit better, but yeah, and the Panthers, you got Josh Mahura or Murrah, whatever, on the Panthers.
Yeah.
Dude,
they are called. Oh no, now we're really screwing it up. I almost corrected you and said, dude, they're called the Hurricanes, but the team they're playing against is called the Panthers. I'm dead. You know how I kept saying the Carolina Panthers?
Oh, I know.
Well, they're playing the Florida Panthers. That didn't even dawn on me either.
Well, yeah, I knew that you didn't think of that?
Dude, that didn't even click in my head either. That's funny.
Yeah, so I mean he doesn't play a lot of minutes. He's like averaging 11 minutes per game. So that's where the depth kind of filter is not as much depth as there is with the Hurricanes. Radko Gudas, he can have a temper, take some dumb penalties here and there. You know how that works out. So I give the defensive edge to the Carolina Hurricanes. And then the goaltending, Sergei Bobrovsky looks like he's a Vezina goaltender again. But I do think Anderson and Ranta is the best goalie duo that's been left in the playoffs. I thought that through the second round or the beginning of the second round as well. Anderson right now is 5-0. I mean, that's tough. I can't that is tough to play against this Carolina Hurricanes team. When you have good defense and good goaltending, they're going to be tough to beat. I'm going to give the edge obviously to the Hurricanes in the series just because is Bob going to be able to live up to what he's been doing? Is he going to play the way he's been playing? I don't know. I'm taking the Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games.
Wow, in 5.
I think the true colors of the Panthers are going to show a little bit here. I really do. That's how high up I am on Carolina.
I hate this because I picked Carolina too. I don't believe in my predictions because I don't trust either of them. I could see me being wrong on both. And Shorts Guy asked me for my predictions because the primetime radio crew is coming out with them today or tomorrow, and mine had to be on there, and I had to give them, and I'm going to give the same ones I gave them so I don't look like a fraud. But, I mean, I said the same thing about Florida in 2 straight series, and I'm thinking to myself, who the fuck am I to sit here and pick against Florida after they just shoved it up my hoop 2 straight series? And, like, I know Carolina's good. They're as good as the Leafs. They're as good as the Bruins. I just don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the Florida Panthers can win this series. I'm picking Carolina to win in 6.
It's not out of the realm of possibility by any means, but
I'm not confident about either of my picks. None. Neither of them. I wouldn't bet fake Monopoly money on either of these series. None of them. I'd rather put a parlay on 3 guys hitting a home run in baseball than betting on either of these series. I'm not touching either of them. Maybe an anytime goal scorer. Those are fun. Shout out Jake and Jordan Eberle on Friday night. Dinner paid for. Oh, that's a story for off camera that I can't wait to tell you. Gambling stories with the boys are the best.
oh boy.
Like when you and Dylan bet the Trout home run. It's that level. It's that level of story, if not better.
Okay.
But I'm not touching this. I'm not touching this stories on the gambling level. All right, fine. I'll tell it on it. They're the people that deserve to hear it. We're at timeout, and Jake bets. Jake, for those of you who don't know, a good friend of mine. He bets Jordan Eberle next goal scorer. Doesn't score. He bets Jordan Eberle next goal scorer. Doesn't score. Okay, we're midway through the 3rd period now. Dylan goes, Jake, let me see your phone. I'll pick you a new player. He looks at Dylan's phone and goes, Ryan Donato. He hands Jake back the phone. Jake says, okay, putting money in on Donato. Next goal scorer. Ryan Donato does not touch the ice for the rest of the 3rd period. Dave Haxtell is running 2 lines over and over again to end the 3rd period. Like the 2 lines that are good at scoring and also good at checking. And Eberle's out there. And, when you switch your goal scorer, you don't want the guy you had been betting to score now, right? He takes a shot at the empty net, and it misses by 2 inches. Okay, icing, TV timeout. Joey goes to the bathroom. Jake shows me his phone, and he showed me that he actually said F you, Dylan, and bet Eberle instead of Donato. And my jaw hit the floor because what he would have won had that puck went in the empty net had a comma in it. And then at the end of the 3rd period, Eberle puts one in the empty net, and we stand up and jump for joy around timeout. There were probably other people in the freaking building going, these freaking weirdos. It was one of my all-time favorite gambling moments that I've ever been a part of. He was stunned. And then guess what? Eberle puts it in the empty net. The game's over. The Kraken are going to win. Here comes Donato to kill the last 30 seconds of the game.
That's actually really funny.
It was one of the great gambling stories in the history of my life.
That's actually really good.
I love it. And I had a feeling I would tell the story either on Breaking Bets or at some point in the show. But, man, that was fun. That was fun, but not doing anything like that when it comes to Carolina and Florida or Vegas, Dallas. But Frank, that's my prediction for the series. I think Carolina's a touch deeper.
Well,
the best player. I
say?
said Carolina in 6.
Oh, okay.
It will make me feel better about the Devils losing to them if they went on to win the Cup, certainly. But I do think Florida versus Vegas in the Stanley Cup final would be more fun because then a team would be winning the Stanley Cup for the first time ever. For the first time since it happened in back-to-back years. Or no, that wasn't their first cup ever. It was the Blues' first cup ever, right?
Yeah, Blues won it for the first time.
And Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So back-to-back years of 2 first cups. I like when that happens, when wins the cup for the first time. That would be a fun storyline for me. I know that doesn't apply to everyone, but it would be a fun storyline for me. But I'm picking Carolina in 6. I just think even without Svechnikov, Pacioretty, and Teravainen, that's like 100 goals missing from their lineup. We've seen Nietzsche stand up. We've seen this Martinuk, who was on waivers in October. He had 10 points in the Devils series. I mean, just an absolute menace to the entire state of New Jersey. I love Brent Burns' game in the second round. Right? Like he has that shot that finds its way through traffic. He's not as mobile as he once was back with the Sharks, but like he's still got that offensive instinct that every team likes to have on the back end. Slavin and Pesci and guys like that are just absolute dudes. And Freddie Anderson is a Conn Smythe. I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, but he's top 10 in the Conn Smythe trophy voting right now. And if Carolina makes it to the Stanley Cup final, he probably drops from top 10 to top 5 if he plays well in this series. So like, I don't know. I just like the makeup of Carolina right now. Matthew Tkachuk is the best player on either team. I don't think anybody's debating that.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, in Florida, Verhaeghe and, who's the other 40 goal scorer that they had? Well, I know Lundell has been outstanding and Bob.
Not Bennett, right?
No, not Bennett, but Bennett's been really good too. I think Verhaeghe was the one who had 40 goals. But like,
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, he did. And, it's just a solid team as well. And I like their defense with Ekblad, and Gudis has just been an absolute warrior in these playoffs. When they scored the game-winning OT GWG against the Leafs, he gets in Wool's face and screams like a menace. It's just been fun to watch Florida. But, I have no confidence in this pick, but that's my, kind of mini breakdown of the two teams.
I like it. I mean, it should be interesting. I think Florida's true colors come out, and we shall see.
Yep. And then the series that I have been assigned for puckpros.com, I will be covering the Vegas Golden Knights versus Dallas Stars series. I will be writing on each and every game, previewing each and every game. This is a tough one. This is a battle of the meat. This is a big meaty series. You like meat? Watch the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Dallas Stars. This is the series that is kind of like what hockey
the moment the fans have all been waiting for.
Yeah, literally. And Frankie's girlfriend writes for the Dallas Stars, blackoutdallas.com, and he himself is a self-proclaimed Vegas Golden Knights appreciator. We'll see if he sticks true to his guns or if he, kind of flip-flops and makes people laugh at him a little bit for flip-flopping after all this time. Frank, I'll award you the floor.
All right. Well, let's break it down starting from the top.
Started from the bottom. Now
the offense is very tight on both sides in terms of who has the edge. On one side, you got Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Marchessault, Chandler Stevenson. On the other side, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, who hasn't been that great, but nonetheless, he's still there. Joe Pavelski, Max Domi, Jamie Benn, even Tyler Seguin. And Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin has had a resurgence this year. And even in the postseason, Tyler Seguin a little stinky during the regular season, but not too shabby in the postseason. And that Max Domi pickup definitely looking good for their offense. Now with the Edmonton Oilers out of the picture, Dallas Stars have the best remaining power play in the postseason, 31.7%. But like we saw with the Edmonton Oilers, Vegas very disciplined team. They know how to play discipline, so this is not their first rodeo against a team with a great power play. What the Knights do have that the Edmonton Oilers lacked is 5-on-5 scoring. They're outscoring their opponents on 5-on-5, 30-15. That's 66%. I think the edge goes, in my eyes, it's so close. I don't even know who has the edge offensively. It might be a tie. I mean,
I would say Dallas.
I think Dallas slightly, maybe.
Dallas has more. Dallas has flashy. They have more flashy skill. They might not have more offensive production, but I think the ceiling is higher offensively due to the high end skill.
It's by the slimmest of margins.
Yes,
it really is. Now on defense, the Stars have allowed the fewest expected goals per 60 minutes, 2.19.
Frankie busting out the advanced stats.
That is unbelievable.
Who even are you?
It's unbelievable. I had to include it because I just couldn't believe it. Miro Heiskanen.
Analytics, Frank. Analytic bean. Number bean.
Miro Heiskanen. that's a man that could shut you down and just score at will if he needed to. Oh man, it's this defense. I mean, the Dallas Stars also have the veteran presence: Suter, Lindell, Miller. They got young studs, Harley and Hanley. Very deep blue line, right? On Vegas, you got Petrangelo, Martinez, McNabb, Theodore. Vegas D-men, a lot more aggressive. They play a lot more aggressive than the Dallas Stars D-men do. And, the proof is in the pudding. Petrangelo, Whitecloud, Hague, they all have double-digit penalties. So that could come in. That could be bad when it comes to the Dallas power play. But if they could find a way to be disciplined, I don't know. I think the edge goes to Dallas in terms of defense as well. I like Dallas's defense a lot better. However, you get to the goaltending, the clear edge goes to Dallas. Jake Ottinger is better than Aiden Hill, better than Brossois, better than Logan Thompson. But Aiden Hill, he's been playing great for what we've seen so far. Nothing wrong with his gameplay. Nothing to knock him on, really. Just don't necessarily trust him as much as I would Brossois or Thompson. Now, if Hill is in net, you never know what's going to happen. Now, there is a chance Logan Thompson returns for this series. There is a chance. We assume Brossois will probably also make a return in this series. But at the end of the day, the edge goes to Dallas in terms of that. I do think the Dallas Stars have the edge in basically every category. My prediction is the Vegas Golden Knights to win the series in 7 games. I had them going to the Cup before the season to play the Carolina Hurricanes. That was my prediction. The prediction's looking great. I would love to have correctly chosen the 2 teams to meet in the Stanley Cup, and we're 1 series on both sides of the conferences away from doing that. The Vegas Golden Knights to win in 7 games.
Wow. Wow.
I thought they were going to make it to the Cup preseason or right before the playoffs started. There's no reason to change my mind right now. They're 1 series away from doing that, so I'm going to stick with my guns. Vegas and Carolina in the Stanley Cup.
Are you sleeping on the couch tonight?
She understands. She understands where I come from, right?
I say you get the couch.
I mean, it's up to her. So
You'd be getting the freaking couch.
now I could be wrong, because in all honesty, I do think Dallas has the second best odds of winning the Cup. I think they have more of a chance of winning the Cup than Vegas do. I just think that Vegas is going to win the series.
I also picked Vegas in 7, so I don't disagree with you. I do think it's very possible Dallas wins. I would love to be wrong. It'd be funny because you would have to hear it, which, always warms my heart. Okay. I think
he's on the couch.
Miro Heiskanen is the best defenseman on either team. Probably by a landslide, but I think I like Petrangelo's overall group with him probably more than Dallas's. I don't know. It's Heiskanen, it's Essa Lindell, it's Ryan
very
Suter.
hard season or series.
Yeah, I think overall Vegas has the better defense core, but Miro Heiskanen elevates everyone. So that's very hard to kind of project between the forwards. Rupe Hintz is 1 point behind McDavid for the lead in the playoffs, and guess what?
Yep.
McDavid's out. So Rupe Hintz will likely lead the postseason in points if Dallas wins this series. Jason Robertson, something's wrong with him. I know he has 12 points. He's collected a couple secondhand assists or secondary assists and whatnot. It just doesn't seem like he's the dominant Jason Robertson that he was all season long. And that's somewhat of an issue, but you never know. Guys go cold a series, warm a series. Haula was the Devils' best player, and he didn't have a point in the second round. The ebbs and flows for everyone, including the Stars. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But, Joe Pavelski, Jamie Benn, and Tyler Seguin, they're the elder statesmen on the team. And they've had good playoffs. Jake Ottinger, he's been pulled twice. He's not in the Conn Smythe Trophy mix as of right now. There's still time to recover, but he's an elite goalie, and we all know it. I think the times he got pulled were an anomaly, and against this Vegas team, he probably will be a little bit more settled down and whatnot, I would assume. I like the makeup of both teams. I think both teams are outstanding. But I picked Vegas to win the series.
It's a very
And I
close
honestly
series.
think it's just because of forward depth. Like, Jack Eichel is probably the best forward on Vegas. He's probably the second best forward on either team. He's still working on getting his regular season point total back to where they were pre-injury, pre-neck
Mhm.
injury. But he's like a 100-point guy pre-neck injury. And this year he was a little hurt, like dealing with things and like getting his legs like a full season. I'm expecting 100 from Eichel next year. And if
Wow.
Mark Stone plays the whole season, like that could absolutely happen. I just think the world of Jack Eichel. And Mark Stone is the best defensive winger since Marian Hossa. We've talked about that on this show for
Mhm.
days.
Mhm.
I really like what Wild Bill does in the playoffs. Like, I know he had the 1 year with 40 and he never had 40 again,
Mhm.
but he always has 20, 25, 30.
Absolutely.
He's a very good goal scorer. But I think Wild Bill might be their most important forward in the playoffs because of what he does in all ends of the ice. Wild Bill could go three. Wild Bill's very much Heischer. He could go 3 or 4 games without a goal and nobody cares. Nobody will ever roast him. And he does have 6 goals in the playoffs, I think, or 5.
Mhm.
Like, he's probably the best penalty killing forward left in the playoffs now that McDavid and Draisaitl are out. So, and Riley Smith and Marchessault, what an underrated stud that guy is.
I love Marchessault.
Marchessault is so good. And you know what? When Phil the Thrill reaches 1,000 points next season, if he has 3 cups under his belt, we could be talking about Fat Phil making the Hall of Fame. I don't know about first ballot or anything like that, but a guy with 3 cups and 1,000 points, hard to deny.
It's hard to deny. It is hard to deny.
So we'll see if Fat Phil's able to eat some cake in this playoffs and, help Vegas get to the Stanley Cup final. And I say that with nothing but love for Phil Kessel. I
Mhm.
love him. He's one of my
I
all-time
hear you.
favorite players. I want to eat a hot dog with Phil Kessel more than I want to enjoy any food or beverage with any pro athlete. If it was a beer with this person or,
Why a hot dog?
he's Philly hot dog. You
There's
don't
so
remember
many
the hot
other
dog
things.
story? No,
Yeah, I get it.
it's his favorite food. I want to eat a hot dog with Phil Kessel. Like, I would hope somebody wants to eat timeout wings with me. Like, that would be my thing. Like, Phil Kessel, it was like a thing. Like, he's gonna, because it was that stupid asshole reporter, Steve Simmons or whatever in Toronto, saying that he saw Phil Kessel getting a hot dog from a hot dog stand on game day or something, just ripping on, that's not food a professional athlete's supposed to be eating before going to play, even though he's the Leafs' best player for 6 straight years and he's got 4 40-goal seasons while playing for the Maple Leafs and he's not the reason they suck, but I'm going to rip on him because he likes to have a hot dog. Fucking idiots. But yes, Phil Kessel, when he won the Stanley Cup, if I were Phil Kessel, this is a quote from Steve Dangle. When I won that Stanley Cup in 2016, I would have taken my day with the cup, flown it to Toronto, filled it with hot dogs from that same fucking hot dog stand, and sat on a bench and eaten them out of it. I love Phil Kessel. Let's go, Phil. I just decided I'm hard on Vegas for the rest of the playoffs. Let's go, Phil. I love that man.
You like Phil, huh?
Love Phil. Give
I
me
like Phil.
Phil.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. Nice. What was his Twitter bio? Nice guy, tries hard, loves the game.
Was that what it was? I don't remember what it was, to be
It
honest.
still probably is. Comedy. So yeah, I'm going Vegas in 7. Dallas has the edge in goalie. I don't think I need to
Yeah,
really
that's
go into
just
much detail
that's
on
common
that.
knowledge.
Ottinger. I tweeted this the other day for those of you who follow me. A picture of Jack Eichel and Ottinger. Not together, but I tweeted them together because you know how much I fell in love with college
Oh
hockey
yeah.
over the last couple years. They both played for one of my favorite collegiate hockey programs. For those of you listening on the audio podcast, Boston University.
Hell yeah.
So credit to Jack Eichel and Jake Ottinger. Hopefully some BU love. There will be BU love represented in the Stanley Cup final. Really good coaches in the playoffs too, and this will make G happy. Peter DeBoer is trying to make it to the Stanley Cup final in his first year with a new team for the 3rd time.
Wow.
He did it with the New Jersey Devils in 2012 and the not the Vegas Golden Knights, the San Jose Sharks in 2017.
Wow.
So, and with who he went to the conference finals with it might have been Vegas.
Yeah.
Or no, it was Dallas. No,
It was
Dallas
Vegas,
this
right?
year. He did it with Vegas, I think, once too. So,
I
credit
think it
to
was Vegas.
credit to Peter DeBoer. He likes taking teams, and then he's going to suck next year. Like if Dallas sucks next year, fire Peter DeBoer, they'll be fine. They're really good with him in year one, and then they tail off after every time. But yeah, he's a good coach. So, Frank, really quick before we get out of the second period and start talking a shit ton of video games to end the show, what's your Conn Smythe Trophy ranking right now? I know there's still 4 teams left, so it's a little hard, but I think there's a pretty clear cut, like 2 or 3 guys.
To me, honestly, if I were to take somebody to win the Conn Smythe, I said this earlier in the week too, when his odds were even larger than what they are now. I think it's Rupe Hintz. I think if the Dallas Stars were to get to the Cup and they win the Cup, it's going to be Rupe Hintz that wins the Conn Smythe, hands down, I would say. I don't think they're going to give it to Ottinger. I really don't. I think it's all Rupe Hintz. He's going to overtake McDavid for the most points in this year's playoffs. And if they win, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, the Dallas Stars could very easily win the Stanley Cup. It's going to be Rupe Hintz. And he's somebody I've been saying for the past week. Rupe Hintz. Now, on the other side of things, if the Carolina Hurricanes win the Cup, which is also a potential possibility that I've thought about, obviously, telling you that I think they have a really good chance of winning the Cup, it's going to be Sebastian Aho. And, he deserves it. He really does. Having a great postseason. Svechnikov out. Aho is filling that gap, and he's going to deserve it. And he's going to be the one that they're not. I wouldn't think they give it to Anderson. Anderson's undefeated. And I guess if that, continues into the Stanley Cup final. And if he really just was, if he won the Cup being undefeated, maybe they give it to him. I just don't see them giving it to him, but who knows? I could be wrong.
I think every team left has 2 clear-cut guys. For the Dallas Stars, it's Rupe Hintz and Miro Heiskanen. I think Miro Heiskanen has been otherworldly in these playoffs. And it's not as flashy as, let's say, Brent Burns or Doug Hamilton or some of the Cale Makar last year. But like the way he defends, and he's always in proper positioning, and he makes the sick first pass every single time. Miro Heiskanen. And, Rupe Hintz is the obvious answer. Miro Heiskanen is the dark horse from Dallas. From Vegas, it's either Jack Eichel or Mark Stone. I think one of them two would be the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. As of right now, they're the leaders right now from Vegas. There is extra weight put it on what you do in the Stanley Cup final itself.
Absolutely.
Like when the Kings won the Cup in 2014, they gave the Conn Smythe Trophy to Richards. And Kopitar had more points in the playoffs, but Richards had like 7 points in the final itself in 5 games. And they gave it to him instead. There are a couple guys who have earned it in the final, but as we stand right now, the leaders, Vegas, Eichel and Stone. For the Carolina Hurricanes, you nailed the 2. It's Sebastian Aho and Fred Anderson. Freddie's undefeated. Aho's got a bunch of points. Aho's also, he's kind of developing this reputation as like a little rat in the playoffs. He's not quite Brad Marchand, but he's also not Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
Even though he did fight Jack Hughes, but they didn't get a fighting major. They each got 2 minutes for roughing. So Jack Hughes wasn't able to have the Gordie Howe hat trick, which is so dumb. But I guess it's also good because he didn't get taken off the ice for an extra 3. And then what team didn't I? Oh, the Florida Panthers. It's Kachuk and Bob. Probably Bob and Kachuk in that order. I think Bob would get it. He's the leader right now for Florida. So 2 goalies, 1 defenseman, the rest forwards, all on this list. Anything can happen over the final 2 series, though. What a conference final it's going to be, though, Frank.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
I can't wait either. Starting tomorrow, Carolina Hurricanes versus the Florida Panthers, and then on Friday, you will have the Vegas Golden Knights against the Dallas Stars. So excited about it, Frank. Great hockey conversation all around.
It was very good.
Let's talk about some shiz. Period number 3.
Like now?
No, freaking tomorrow. Frank, it's your time to shine. We do this about once a month. Frank's video game corner. Lay it on me.
Well, right now it's been main focus has been Zelda content, right? Zelda, everybody's enjoying Zelda. VP, you're enjoying Zelda. How far in
Ooh.
Zelda are you? Haven't
I'm
gotten the
still
chance to ask.
I'm still in the early stages, right? Like I completed a shrine last night that allowed me to get this feature where I can morph things together.
Mm.
And I have to my Switch was dying as I was going to sleep last night, so I died with my Switch and, put the game down after about an hour and a half of solid gameplay. When I turn it back on later tonight, my quest will be to or my adventure will be to get some peppers and either cook up some food or eat the peppers straight up so I can go up a cold mountain and do the next shrine.
Cool.
Yep.
So yeah,
Hoping to get that done tonight. That's my homework for tonight. If I don't get farther than that tonight, I'll be okay because I got some writing to do for this conference finals too. But I'm reading a Star Wars book. But my goal tonight is to get through that shrine.
Okay, interesting. Well, so yeah, a lot of the main focus for my writing has been Zelda, but some other stuff not related to Zelda. If you're a fan of Overwatch 2, you may have known that back in 2019 they announced that there was going to be a player versus environment PvE type of game mode that would focus on like hero missions, all that. Well, they're scrapping that. They're not going to keep their promise. They're instead going to focus on co-op, online play, and all that jazz. So if you're looking forward to that, well, tough luck. It's not coming. It's unfortunate, but I mean, life goes on. Ubisoft plans on upping developers on Assassin's Creed to 40% additional developers on Assassin's Creed. It'll bring them up to around 2,800, just a couple hundred shy of what is used on Call of Duty, which is just unbelievable that there's like 3,000 developers that go into creating Call of Duty. It's unbelievable. Assassin's Creed is right there. They're going all in on this franchise. They actually have 6 Assassin's Creed franchise games in development, which is pretty cool. Doesn't appear like the series is going to die anytime soon. Assassin's Creed Mirage is set for release this October. So if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, you have something to look forward to, as long as it doesn't get delayed, because there's been problems with the release date, saying it's going to come out in 2024, but then right now it's going to come out in 2023. So there's been ups and downs with that. But if you're a fan of Assassin's Creed Mirage is set to come out in October this year. A very interesting story, the one that I think you'll really like, Vin, is the Call of Duty map Shipment
Yes.
with all the cargo boxes, right? It was
Yep. Great. I like the map.
It was in 2007's Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and word got out this week from an Infinity Ward developer that stated that map wasn't supposed to be in the game. It was completely in the game by accident. That when they were developing the video game, they used Shipment developers as a testing map to test guns, test kill streaks, test a whole bunch of stuff out. And when the game was released, they forgot to take the map out. It was never planned to be in the game at all. They forgot to take the map out right before the game's release. They left it in because of all the praise it was getting, and that really paved the way for maps like Nuketown and Rust. And if that would have never happened, we may have never gotten some of those smaller maps that we love today, which I just thought was unbelievable. Like, that was so interesting.
Was Shipment a downloadable content map again in Modern Warfare 2?
The newer one, I
Modern
think.
Warfare 3?
No, like the newer, not the Modern
Warfare 2.
Oh,
Modern Warfare.
Like
the one
the
that,
new, the newer
I remember
Modern
seeing
Warfare
that.
2.
Yeah, I remember that.
Or yeah, Modern Warfare maybe. Yeah, I think it was Modern Warfare, the newer one, the 2019 or
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I don't know if it was necessarily downloadable content. I think they just added it in as like a playlist. But
Yeah.
it's just crazy to think, like, if that doesn't happen, we might not get a Rust. We might not get a Nuketown.
Which Rust and Nuketown are considered to be like Mount Rushmore Call of Duty maps.
Yeah, because Shipment paved the way for those smaller types of maps. So
hell, even Firing Range was a smaller.
I know. And the fact, like, they didn't plan on putting that small of a map in, the whole perspective of Call of Duty could have been different. But yeah, Skylar says Modern Warfare 2019. Yeah, that's the one. But that's really it, because a lot of my focus has been on Zelda and writing guides for it. So if you want to know how to do something, you can head over to apptrigger.com. We literally have so many guides. It is unbelievable. Like there's this guy writing just simply about the shrines and how to complete the shrines. I've been writing how to get cool armor sets, cool weapons. I mean, it's been really cool.
I need you to get it and play it.
You'd like that, huh?
I would. I can't stop thinking about it. Like I can't wait to do that shrine. I got to figure out a way to get Link ready for some cold. So that's my goal for tonight. It's fun. It's good stuff. What are you watching this weekend?
Finishing House of Dragons. We got 2 episodes left, so that'll be
Nice.
done. That'll be done. I'm excited about that. Really nothing new. Trying to think if there's anything new. Haven't gotten to Spideyverse yet, but probably will when House of Dragons is over. Quick watch, knock that out before June. Yeah, nothing new. Survivor, same old playoffs. You know. Well, how about you?
I have been kind of running old MCU movies just for fun to kill time lately. Like I watched Spider-Man: Homecoming, I watched Civil War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel. Don't know when we're gonna get around to Endgame, but I mean, I'm trying to get through this stuff because I'm so excited about it, and like I need to get to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So, you know, that's really cool. I saw the Super Mario movie came out where you could buy it and watch it at home.
Yeah,
I would like to watch that sometime really soon.
it's available to own and rent.
Yeah, I have a wedding this weekend, so it's going to be hard to like spend a lot of time watching non-sports related content. But I'm excited to do all that stuff. So, and I've been reading Heir to the Empire, and I watched the Ahsoka Tano trailer, and it like is based on the book. So, like, I highly recommend this book that I'm reading to anybody who plans on enjoying and understanding Ahsoka better, because this is good stuff. Learning about the villain that's going to be in it, and seeing Luke and Leia deal with this adventure, it's fun. So I'm enjoying it. Other sports, I saw the Nuggets have a 1-0 lead over the Lakers.
That's true.
And the Heat play the Celtics in Game 1 tonight.
Yep.
So what do you think?
Yeah, you know what else was yesterday was the NBA draft lottery.
Yes, I meant to touch on that. Vinny wrote a Shooty Hoops article for the first time in a couple months.
Bulls had a 1.8% chance of winning. Spoiler alert, they did not. They had 18 ping pong ball combinations, and they weren't lucky enough, but the San Antonio Spurs were. For the 3rd time in franchise history, they will pick number 1. The past 2 times that they've picked number 1, both of those players have gone to the Hall of Fame. So, and the person supposed to go number 1 this year is a French sensation. ESPN said he's the most anticipated player since LeBron James in 2003. He is, they called him a generational talent, which I thought was pretty cool. So we're going to have a generational talent in hockey and the NBA coming in at the same time. It should be interesting. I know this guy's massive. I thought I read he's 7'5", but that just doesn't seem right that somebody would be that tall. 7'5", 8-foot wingspan. No, I just don't think it is. I thought it was maybe 7'5" or 7'2". But what makes him so good is he like could make those fadeaway threes, those step back threes, and being so tall, like normally guys like that don't normally play that style of game. Like you look at Giannis, he's not sitting chilling at the 3-point line nailing a three. But if that's true, this guy's going to be able to do it both ways, be able to get down low, have a few dunks, but also go and nail some threes. I mean, that's a true generational talent. I do agree. By no means is he probably going to be better than LeBron, but the hype around him is it's unbelievable. So congrats to the San Antonio Spurs on nailing him. And yeah, that's what I got for the NBA.
Sounds like this guy's going to be a mix of Klay Thompson and Giannis.
Could be.
Which is a supreme skill set.
Absolutely.
I mean, LeBron is kind of LeBron's 3-point shooting wasn't terrible in his prime.
Oh, no.
So,
he's not 7'5", but.
No, but he's big, though. He's a noticeable figure on the court. If you were to remove everybody's jersey and all you saw were people, he's a noticeable being out there, I would say, LeBron. Absolutely. So, if this guy helps turn the Spurs, are you still a Spurs guy?
Yeah, I'd have nothing against the Spurs. I like the Spurs.
I remember you used to call them your favorite team. I don't know if that was just BS little kid talk.
No, I mean, I didn't really watch the NBA back then, so I wanted a team to be one of my favorites. But I have nothing against the Spurs. I wouldn't say they're still one of my favorite teams, but good for them.
Who knows? Maybe this will re-spark some interest in at least watching. I mean, I know I'm going to check him out, the new guy when he
I
comes
gotta
up.
see him. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just,
I gotta check out the hype. Like, I feel like a medium basketball or a medium hockey fan will be watching a Blackhawks game early next season just so they
Yeah.
could check out the hype.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's exciting. Baseball, Sox and the Cubs both trying to get out of it.
It's rough.
But the Astros go from the White Sox to the Cubs. Lucky them. But yeah, got a couple parlays on home run hitters in tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it a breaking bet segment? You're gonna?
I'll say I'm in breaking bets. Yeah, why not? Luis Robert, home run in 4 straight games. Let's make it 5 tonight. Yeah, let's make it 5 tonight and tie a White Sox franchise record. AJ Pierzynski hit home run in 5 straight games in 2012.
Wow.
So let's break a record here tonight, Lou Bob. Get a big win over the Guards. Frank, it's time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Frank,
VP
Breaking Bets.
back below 50% by 1%. Went 1 and 2. Oh, all right.
What was the tie?
It was an over/under that pushed.
Oh, did it involve the
Oh
devil?
no! It was. Oh yeah, it was an over/under in the NHL. It was a Dallas game, I think.
Okay,
Pretty sure. I don't
I
remember.
believe it. I believe it.
It was like over/under 6, and it was 4-2.
Yeah.
Actually, it was an over/under in the Hurricanes Islanders series, I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what it was. I'm pretty sure, and it was like 4-2. So, anyway, we got 3 MLB picks today. No hockey picks, no NBA picks. 3 MLB picks. We're gonna start off with the Yankees at the Blue Jays. I like the Blue Jays money line. Cole's pitching against Bassett. The price on Cole seems too good to be true. Blue Jays have lost both games to the Yankees in the series, and I think this is a great spot for the Blue Jays to bounce back with Bassett on the mound. It just seems too good to be true. I think the whole public's going to be jumping over the Yankees just because Garrett Cole's pitching. But I do think the Blue Jays will get the best of him. And maybe even if it's not him, the bullpen, I just think that the Blue Jays win this game. There's good value on him as a home pick 'em, I guess, at -109. So Blue Jays money line, first pick right there. Second pick, Brewers play the Cardinals. This is another very similar situation to Garrett Cole pitching for the Yankees. Well, Corbin Burns is pitching for the Brewers, and I know everybody is going to be hopping over the Brewers just because Burns is pitching. Brewers have been worlds better this year than the Cardinals. And Liberatore is pitching for the Cardinals, who hasn't pitched this year. But once again, the line is just too good to be true. It just seems like if you were to take the Brewers, it'd be free money, which is why I'm leaning towards the Cardinals money line at -106. The line to me is just too close for comfort. So I would swing with the St. Louis Cardinals in a Central Division battle. And then this pick, my next pick, the third and last pick, you got the Atlanta Braves at the Texas Rangers. Strider's pitching against Eovaldi. Man, Spencer Strider's just a strikeout machine. He is so good. And on the other end of it, Eovaldi's been pitching so well. He hasn't given up a run in 3 games. He's pitched 3 games with no earned runs. I expect this trend to continue today, at least through the first inning. So I'm taking no run in the first inning in the Braves and Rangers game. That price is -132. That is what I like. 3 MLB picks. Hopefully we win all 3. That'll be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's hear what you got. I want to hear what you got with your
I did Spencer Steer Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Bryce Harper all to hit a home run.
Okay.
I parlayed the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres. Let me see. Which I believe right now the Diamondbacks are winning.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Padres and Royals are tied at 0, so those are the active ones.
And the Dodgers tied.
Oh, the Dodgers are tied? They
2-2.
started already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go Dodgers. And then I parlayed the White Sox and the Cubs.
Wow.
And then Juan Soto, Otani, and Devers to all hit a home run.
Together?
Yeah. Just having like $1 fun. Like $1 to win $1,000.
It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, I saw one hit yesterday. A guy made $8,000 by betting $5.
Mhm.
He hit Robert Gurriel. It might have been Arenado. I forget who it was. There were 4 guys, and they all bombed. And he won $8,000 betting 5.
That's
So like $1 to win 1,000. Like it's just a fun, like with no hockey on.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, just some fun. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Don't keep track of my record, please.
I'm not going.
Yeah, that's Breaking Bets though, Frank. What a show! Video games, hockey, shit. Life is good.
Show. It was a good show. It was a long first period. And yeah, that's what we got for this.
100%. I just want to give a quick shout out to our good friend and director at the program, Aldo Gandia. We are thinking of you, and we love you very much. Make sure you read my work at thewindycity.com, puckpros.com, blackandteal.com, pucksandpitchforks.com, and southsideshowdown.com, where I'm covering all things Chicago sports, New Jersey Devils, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Frankie's covering The Legend of Zelda and every other thing cool about video games at apptrigger.com. Make sure you read all of that via the Fansided Network. And then, of course, make sure you tune into the rest of the shows here at the Barroom Network. Very excited to be a part of that. Frank, any last words?
No. I got nothing.
Got
Just
nothing.
don't eat Raisin Bran. It's not that great.
Don't eat Raisin Bran. Nasty shit. Nasty shit. So, not nasty shit, but, you know. We'll see what happens in these conference finals. Make sure you watch hockey. Make sure you watch Bardown. We will see you next week. As always, thank you for listening.